Chapter 1. Last Words Lost. The night was too still. That's what the air traffic controllers at JFK remembered most of. The sky had gone unnaturally silent just before Flight 477 vanished. The radar blips had been steady, the voice transmissions clear, until they weren't. And then, nothing. No distress call. No final transmission. Just a hollow of static where a plane full of life should have been. It was October 1977, a time when the world still believed in the orderly mechanics of flight. Jets didn't just disappear. Not like this. Not without a trace. But Flight 477 wasn't just any flight. It was a Boeing 727, sleek and silver, carrying 89 passengers, a crew of 6 from New York to Los Angeles, a routine red-eye, a journey that should have been uneventful. And yet, as the plane climbed into the ink-black sky, something was already watching. The last recorded words from the cockpit were fragmented, almost dreamlike. The captain's voice, usually steady, had a tremor in it. Control, this is 477, we're seeing. Lights outside, not stars, not aircraft, there. Moving, fast, then a pause, a breath, and then the words that would haunt investigators for decades. They're not supposed to be here. The air traffic controller on duty, a man named Harold Voss, would later testify that the transmission had been clean. It wasn't the last syllable of hair stretched, warped, as if the very air around the plane had thickened. Then a sound that didn't belong in the sky, a low resonant like a tuning fork struck in the void. And then silence. Voss called for confirmation. No response. He tried again. Still nothing. The radar screen flickered, the blip of Flight 477 dissolving like a ghost in the machine. One moment, it was there. The next, it was gone. The search began immediately. Planes scoured the skies. Ships combed the ocean. But there was no wreckage. No debris. No bodies. Just an empty sky and a question that refused to be answered. Where did they go? And then the whispers started. Passengers who had boarded Flight 477 were never seen again. But in the days that followed, strange reports trickled in. A truck driver near the New Mexico desert swore he saw a silver object streak across the sky that night, moving faster than anything had ever seen. A woman in Arizona claimed her radio had crackled with voice not human, not quite, but something else. Something that spoke in tones too perfect, too precise, like a machine mimicking speech. And then there was the man in the diner, a mechanic, grizzled and weathered, who swore had seen something in the desert, a light, a shape, something that wasn't a plane. He didn't know what it was, but he knew one thing for certain. It wasn't from here. The government called it a tragedy, a mystery, a plane lost to the night. But those who knew better, the ones who had heard the recordings, who had seen the radar data, knew the truth. Flight 477 hadn't crashed. It hadn't fallen. It had been taken. And if that was true, then the real question wasn't where the plane had gone. It was why. Because the night Flight 477 vanished, something else had been in the sky. Something that didn't belong. Something that had been watching, waiting. And now it had taken them. The search would go on. The files would remain classified. The families would never get answers. But the truth was out there, hidden in the static, buried in the dark, and it was waiting for someone to listen. Word count, 938.